Alright, welcome back everybody. Today we're going to make my world famous meatloaf. This isn't your grandma's meatloaf. It took me a long time, but even my wife enjoys meatloaf now on the smoker. I went ahead and already seasoned up the meat. I have 3 pounds of burger, and you can really put anything you want into your meatloaf. I'm keeping it kind of simple with little cubes of cheddar cheese and some diced sweet peppers. I have a youngster who does not like onion, so in my seasonings I snuck in some onion powder. You can do things like that so you don't have any problems there. So in my seasonings, some of it's just traditional, some steak seasonings, cumin, some Tony's of course, so we'll get a little bit of heat, and then I like to finish it off with a little bit of the sweet smokehouse seasoning. So I'm going to go ahead and start mixing this up. Can't be afraid with meatloaf about getting too dirty. It is good to put the seasoning on top so that you can have your hands already clean. You don't have to keep grabbing all of your seasonings with gross hands, washing in between. So this makes it a little bit nicer to do that. I had the grill preheating like we usually do, so then that way when we go down, should be at about 200 degrees. I'm going to cook this on a P setting of 0, so it should get it nice and smoky. Got the seasonings pretty well mixed in. Now with the clean pan, I'm going to dump in all my good fixings. Oh, that looks good. Once I put some pickles in before, bacon's always a good add into it, but this one's just kind of a nice simple one, just cheese and peppers. Not a big deal at all. When I was younger, I think my parents used to put an egg into their meat. You can do that if you're using a more of a lean meat. I'm using a 73% meat, so it's got a lot of fat to it already. That should help it stick together. If you are using more lean meat, yeah, egg might help to fill that in, make it stick, otherwise you don't want a big crumbly mess on your grill. One thing that people always ask about smoked meatloaf is, do you put it just right on the rack? I do. I don't put it in a pan. I put it on one of these small grates. That way it doesn't fall too much through, and it holds it just fine. Looks real good. Alright, so now we're going to start working this together and start getting it more into that loaf shape. Put it onto our pan, and then I'll put a little bit more extra seasoning on top. Set this aside now. Get our plate. Transfer this. It's basically like one giant hamburger. It's kind of a fun part, really. You can see all that good stuff. That cheese is going to melt down. It'll be nice and gooey. So good. I like to pat it, really try to tighten it up so it doesn't crumble on me. There we go. Move that out of the way. When I have the loaf pretty much made and it's all set, I do try to pick it up one more time so it's not too stuck into these little grates. And then I'm going to just put a little bit more seasoning. I'm going to use my steak seasoning on the outside and a little bit more of the sweet seasoning as well. So I like to get just a little bit of a crust on the outside, and that good steak seasoning with the large peppercorns does that for me. See, I'm grabbing my stuff, dirty hands, I'm gonna have to wash my seasonings. You don't want to make a big mess of your seasonings. And this little brown sugar seasoning that we use a lot really sweetens it up a little bit. There's no need for things like ketchup and barbecue sauce on this meatloaf. Well, grill's on, so brew's on. We're ready to go here. I'm going to go ahead and put this meatloaf on. I have this set at the P setting of 0, which means it augers in more pellets often, giving it a nice smoky flavor, so that raises the temperature up a little bit. We're going anywhere from about 200 degrees to 210. Just depending, it's kind of fluctuating a little bit. Later on in about a half hour to hour, I'll turn this up to about 250 to finish off the meatloaf. This should take about 2 hours to do. I'll start checking it around 2 hours, put a probe in it. I want to finish it at about 165 degrees. This is 3 pounds of meat, so it should take a little bit of time to really go through. Let's put this bad boy on. Put it right on the rack with this grate. Now I get to sit back and enjoy. Well, we've gone ahead. I actually changed the setting down to a P2 setting because it's actually a little too hot. It's almost 95 degrees out today, so on the P0 setting, the grill was a little hot. So I dropped it down to a P2 setting, and that kept us at about 200 degrees. I put the probe in. We're at 118 degrees inside. So I've gone ahead and now I've actually turned up the dial to 250 because it's been about an hour and 15 minutes. This is what it's looking like here. Cheese is starting to go out. Nice little crust on the outside. It's getting that good smoke color. So I'm pretty excited about this. Probably about another half an hour, 45 minutes. This should rise pretty quick and we should have a good meatloaf here soon. Well, came on down. It's been exactly 2.5 hours. We're sitting right at 250 degrees and the meatloaf just hit 165 degrees. So we're ready to turn this thing off and drop it down to just kind of the smoke setting, let it burn out. Put my gloves on. Hope you're ready for this. Oh, that is the most delicious looking meatloaf. It's got a nice caramelized outside, good little crust to it, nice dark brown. I'm telling you, you don't need any ketchup or barbecue sauce with this. Just take it right on this tray. Put it on here. We're gonna let this actually rest just for about 5 minutes before you cut it up. While the grill's hot, always scrape it down a little bit. Here we go, nice and clean. But I tell you, I'm looking forward to cutting into this. We're gonna have a good meatloaf tonight. Okay, we've already let the meatloaf rest for a little bit, so we're gonna go ahead and go cut into it. I like to use a bread knife. I mean, it is a loaf. Just nice and gentle. Slicing in, reveal that nice smoke ring. See how it's just staying together perfect? Looks good. I'm gonna slice one more. Oh, it's juicy. It's got a good crust on the outside. This should be a perfect meatloaf tonight. Let's see what we got. There we go. Great meatloaf on the Pit Boss XL.